welcome. In this video, I will demonstrate how you can create bar charts in the KIWI ExploreLive module. I will cover basic settings like the selection of the data source or the variable that will be displayed on the bar chart, as well as the selection of one of the three styles of bar chart that can be created in ExploreLive. I will also cover more advanced settings. I have already opened an ExploreLive session, and I have uploaded two datasets, mean.csv and demo.csv. Mean.csv is a small dataset with 9 rows. It summarizes the result of a preclinical experiment where some type of measurement was obtained at 3 different concentrations in 3 different groups. We have the results and the error or the distribution of these results. The other dataset, demo.csv, is a pharmacokinetic analysis dataset with a lot of different variables, a lot of subjects, a lot of data points in it. I've used this data set to create a modified data set that only contain, actually it will only contain the first record per subject. And I will use all 3 data sets to create bar charts. To do that, I click on the plot menu and select the bar chart option. So the bar chart submodule open, and you can see a big plot panel where the plot are going to be displayed when the valid selection was done. On the upper right corner, we have a data panel in which you can select the data source for your bar chart. It will display all the imported data sets, as well as any modified data set that you could have created. And if you've merged 2 data sets together, it will also show the pooled data. I'm going to use the mean.csv for illustrating the first design of a bar chart in which we will represent the value of a y variable or y-axis variable versus the value of an x-axis variable. I'm going to select the result variable against the concentration variable. So here we have 3 bars, one for each concentration in my data set, and each bar is actually stacking 3 values, 3 results. We had in the data set 3 results per concentration. Each result was specific to a group, and I will now select this group in the color by field to differentiate how these groups are represented. Now with the group by, each bar inside a bar is represented by a different color specific to a value of group. If you want these different groups not to be stacked on top of each other, but shown side by side, you just click on the no field, the no value for the stack group field. Now you see all the values shown side by side. As I mentioned, in our data, we have a variable that contains some measure of variability around the results. And I'm going to select this SD variable. The result is the display of this error bar on both sides of the actual measurement. and this will represent the variability around these measurements. So this is typically a design that you see in a preclinical data showing some form of measurement for different conditions of different experimental conditions. This design is completely compatible with the use of paneling. We have covered this functionality for the scatter plot submodule. I invite you to view this tutorial. It's, I believe, the second tutorial on data stratification. The functionality are strictly similar between scatterplot and bar chart. I will now switch to the second design, which is a more frequent design. I will use the 1 per ID dataset. By switching the dataset, all the selections are wiped out and you start fresh. The second design is a design that will determine and display the number of records associated with each value of the x-axis variable that you select in this field. So in this case, I have a study variable with 3 different possible values, and ExploreLive will determine the count of record for each of those values. You can also stratify those counts using a color by variable. In this case, I'm going to use and gender variable. So now the number of females and males in each study is represented by different colors. Again, by default, those 2 counts are stacked, but you can choose to show them side by selecting the no option in the stack group. Sorry, the stack group field. Just to show you how the paneling would work, I'm going to select those. And now I see how many essentially subject I have by dose, by study, and by gender. You can, if you want, control the axis if you wish to provide some form of custom title. Typically, the y-axis is a count. We don't really know the count of what because it depends on your actual data. In this case, I know that those are subjects, so I'm going to type count of subject, and I'm going to correct the case. And now I see the count of subject being reflected here. I'm now going to switch to the third design of a bar chart that you can create in ExploreLive. I'm going to select the big PK dataset, and for now, I'm going to select just an x-axis variable here. As I mentioned in the previous case, this will give us the number of records for each unique value of the x-axis, in this case, the subject ID. So what it does is representing the number of record per subject. One of the plot that you want to, or the metrics that you like to see in a population analysis is a plot that will show the number of subjects that would provide a certain number of record. So the way you get to this bar chart is by processing the the counts that you see here and count the number of subjects that have a unique value of count. So let's say this probably 23, 22 count was obtained in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, probably a dozen record, dozen subject, maybe 13, 15. And you repeat that for each unique count. And then you process that and you reshuffle. So it's fairly tedious if you do that manually. ExploreLive allows you to do that automatically by using the other field that has been hidden when you selected an x-axis variable. If you enter the ID variable in the record count by, ExploreLive will automatically process that data and give you the count of subjects that provide a certain number of record per ID value. So, for example, here we know that about 5 to 6 subjects provided 3 records. More than 70 subjects provided 4 records, and so on. If you want to stratify that, you can also do that by selecting a variable. And in this case, I will know that most of the low counts of records are obtained in this POC, probably a phase 3 study. The SAD, so probably a single dose study provided up to 20 records. Multiple dose study, the MAD, provided more than those records. You can also use paneling. I'm going to use the dose variable again, and you can further break the plot into a panel. So the more you stratify, the less information you have by strata or stratum. So it's not always very meaningful. So this is giving you an idea about what you can do with every style and how you can create each style in the application. Some advanced settings that I'm going to cover relates to the graphical settings. You have a limited choice here. Something about the darkness of the UI or the plot region. The more you go to the 0, the whiter the lighter the background. The more you go towards the 100% darkness, the more the darker you would go. So depending on what feels right to you, you may want to change that. You can change the theme. I don't believe that there is much difference between KIWI and KIWI Solid. It's probably the same color, but you can choose the ggplot2 theme that revert the color back to the default color of ggplot, which is the graphical library that we're using to create these plots. The final advanced setting is the data subset. This is a topic that is covered by another tutorial video on subsetting data. This tab function exactly as described in this video, so I will not cover that in this particular tutorial, and will invite you to watch this other tutorial. So these cover the creation of Barcharts in ExploreLive. If you have any question, you can always refer back to the KIWI manual or send us question at kiwisupport@cognigencorp.com. Thank you very much.